In Chapter 12, we focus on enhancing decision making. This slide discusses the importance of improved decision making and describes the three types of decisions that are made in an organization. Table 12.1 in the text illustrates how a small decision made hundreds of times a year can be just as valuable as a single decision made once a year. So, for example, improving a decision to schedule production to fill orders made 150 times a year with a value of $10,000 can mean an annual value of $1.5 million. The different levels in an organization tend to make different types of decisions and require different types of support to make those decisions. This slide describes the types of decisions being made at those different levels within the organization. Semi-structured decisions contain a portion that is unstructured and obviously a portion that is structured. Which portion of the example question for middle managers is structured and which is unstructured? What would make this question a fully structured question? Can you come up with additional examples of decisions at the executive, middle management, and operational levels of the organization for companies perhaps you have worked for? This figure provides an illustration of how the nature of decision making changes as you move up and down the corporate hierarchy. There are, of course, exceptions. Some senior managers like to take a hands-on approach to daily operations. Senior managers, middle managers, operational managers, and employees have different types of decision and information requirements. Here we look at the process of decision making as a series of the four stages. It is important to note that if an implemented solution doesn't work, the decider can return to an earlier stage in the process and repeat as needed. So, with an example of what college should I apply to, think about that decision to be made and describe the actions taken at each of those four stages. Think about that to yourself. The decision-making process is broken again into those four stages. And so this graphic illustrates the four stages of decision-making we introduced in the previous slide, emphasizing that steps can be repeated as needed depending on the outcome at each stage. Here we think through the idea that although information systems can assist in making decisions by providing information and tools for analysis, they cannot always improve on decisions being made. Can you provide examples of decisions that an information system might not be able to assist in? Is there any similarity among these example decisions? And what does this say about the types of decisions an information system can help with? This slide expands on the behavioral model of managers and describes Mintzberg's behavior model of managers, which defines 10 managerial roles that fall into three categories. Can you think of examples of activities for each role? Which of these roles can be assisted by information systems and which cannot? Here we continue the discussion of Mintzberg's classifications of managerial roles. Even in decision-making situations that can be helped by information systems, the information system may fail in helping to solve the problem or lead to a better decision. Here we describe the three main reasons why investments in information systems do not always produce positive results. What is meant by information quality? The text lists 7 quality dimensions: accuracy, integrity, consistency, completeness, validity, timeliness, and accessibility. Can you identify and or describe those dimensions? Can you provide an example of what a management filter might be? This slide looks at the growth of systems for executing high velocity decision making, such as financial trading programs. A second example is Google's search engine. What types of problems lend themselves to this type of system? Here we look at the concept of business intelligence and analytics. It is important to understand that business intelligence and business analytics are products defined by hardware and software vendors. This is also one of the fastest growing segments in the US software environment. This slide looks at the 6 main elements at play in BI. What is meant by managerial users and methods, and why is this important? So, managers, for instance, impose order on the analysis of data using a variety of managerial methods that define strategic business goals and specify how progress will be measured. Without management oversight, business analytics can produce a great deal of information that focus on the wrong matters and divert attention from the real issues. Business intelligence and analytics require a strong database foundation, a set of analytic tools, and an involved management team that can ask intelligent questions and analyze data. This slide looks at the main functionalities of business intelligence systems. Parameterized reports are reports that can be adjusted to reflect user-defined parameters. The text gives the example of viewing a report by region and time of day to see how sales vary by these parameters. What is meant by drill down? Can you give an example? And so, specifically, it's the ability to move from a high level view, summary, to a detailed view. For example, a summary view might present the total number of products by category sold worldwide. Drilling down, views might go to products sold at the national, regional, and local levels, and down from product categories to single product and product versions. Predictive analysis software does not so much predict as it does estimate a probability that, based on historical data, a certain event will happen. This works quite well when there are very large data sets. The behavior is repetitive and consistent over time, and there are no changes in the environment. For instance, these techniques work well in machines with well-defined parts that can be monitored. They do not work well in dynamic environments, such as the stock market, where several factors in the environment are constantly changing. Do you have ideas about how the cities you live in or the towns or villages could use big data analytics to improve the lives of the citizens there? Many large corporations today are experiencing an explosion of customer information gathered from websites, social sites, blogs, and emails. Making sense out of this data is difficult. Graphical representation of data is one way to reduce the torrent of data into some simple messages that humans can understand in a glance. Here we look at decisional support specific for operational and the middle level management. Casual users are consumers of BI output, while intense power users are the products of reports, new analysis, models, and forecasts. This graphic looks at the different types of users and what they use BI applications for. On the left, power users, users who rely on BI most intensively, are broken into four main categories, with each category placed beside the types of reports it uses most. On the right, casual users are also broken into various categories and placed along the types of capabilities used most. For example, senior managers rely most on dashboards and scorecards. Have you ever used BI reports in a job setting? What were your thoughts? This slide looks at the decision support systems used for the semi-structured decisions made by the business analysts and super users identified on the previous slide, and outlines a variety of analysis methods that are utilized. Can you give examples of the different types of analysis? Remember that DSS, or decision support systems, are business intelligence systems. The text cites the example of Progressive Insurance, which uses a BI to identify the best customers for its products. This table displays the results of a sensitivity analysis of the effect of changing the sales price of a necktie and the cost per unit on the product's break-even. It answers the question, what happens to the break-even point if the sales price and the cost to make each unit increase or decrease? In this pivot table, we are able to examine where an online training company's customers come from in terms of region and advertising source. This slide looks at the business intelligence used by senior management. These executive support systems utilize some type of methodology to determine which information affects the profitability and success of the firm and how this information can be measured. One popular methodology is the balanced scorecard method. Another popular method is discussed on the following slide. Can you think of how the scorecard itself is determined? In the balanced scorecard framework, the firm's strategic objectives are operationalized along four dimensions: financial, business process, customer, and learning and growth. Each dimension is measured using several KPIs. This slide continues the discussion of business intelligence used by senior managers. Another methodology used by ESS, or executive support systems, similar to the balanced scorecard method, but with a stronger and more explicit emphasis on corporate strategy, is BPM. Can you describe what drill down capabilities are and why they are important? It is important to note that information systems today allow for real-time management. Information gathered on the factory floor is transmitted and summarized within hours and seconds for executive dashboards.